AOC, a very, very young and responsible progressive congresswoman, has a message for the Democratic Party, as well as Representative Abigail Spanberger, Democrat from Virginia, that everybody should listen to, and everybody should listen to for the future. Because what many in the party can't see right now is something that she sees clearly. Check this out, then we'll take it on the other side.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says that she thinks Biden has a tremendous mandate, but Democrats in Congress are potentially looking at a smaller House majority and theoretically a Republican Senate. I want to play something that Virginia Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger said on a conference call of House Democrats this week that you, I'm sure, heard as it happened live. Take a listen.
We need to not ever use the word socialist or socialism ever again, because while people think it doesn't matter, it does matter, and we lost a good member because of that. If we are classifying Tuesday as a success from a congressional standpoint, we will get torn apart in 2022. And excuse the profanity. That's the reality.
I imagine you disagree with that assessment. Why is she wrong?
I acknowledge, first of all, just the really hard fight that a lot of our swing district members had. And it is not to deny that Republicans levied very effective rhetorical attacks against our party. That, I believe, is absolutely true. But I think one of the things that's very important is to realize that very effective Republican attacks are going to happen every cycle. And so the question is, how do we defend ourselves against that? If you look at some of the arguments that are being advanced, that defund the police hurt, or that arguments about socialism hurt, not a single member of Congress that I'm aware of campaigned on socialism or defunding the police in this general election. And these were largely slogans, or they were demands from activist groups that we saw in the largest uprising in American history around police brutality. And so the question that we have is, how can we build a more effective democratic operation that is stronger and more resilient to Republican attacks? And I believe that there are many areas that we can point at in centralized democratic operations that are extraordinarily weak. For example, our digital campaigning is very weak. And this is an area where Republicans are actually quite strong. You know, President Trump, he won the 2016 election, as we know, largely on digital organizing and strategy. And I believe that many Republicans were very effective at digital organizing and strategy as well, whereas the Democratic Party is still campaigning largely as though it's 2005. And I know a lot of us don't want to hear this, but 2005 was 15 years ago. So we can do better. When we really dig down and refine our operations, we can be more resilient to these strong Republican attacks.
You told the New York Times that you almost didn't even run for re-election, in part because of treatment from your own party. You said, quote, "It's the incoming, it's the stress, it's the violence, it's the lack of support from your own party. It's your own party thinking you're the enemy," unquote. Do you really think other Democrats see you as the enemy? Do you think Joe Biden sees you that way?
I don't believe President Biden sees me that way, and I believe that that's actually one of the reasons why he won election. There's a marked difference between 2020 and 2016 in how the Democratic Party was able to unify, to Joe Biden's credit, before the election and get everyone on the same page to make sure that we vote Donald Trump out of office. That being said, you know, there are, at least in the House caucus, very deep divisions within the party, and I believe that we need to really come together and not allow Republican narratives to tear us apart. You know, as you mentioned, we have a slimmer Democratic majority. It's going to be more important than ever for us to work together and not fight each other. And so when we kind of come out swinging, not 48 hours after Tuesday, when we don't even have solid data yet, pointing fingers and telling each other what to do, it deepens the division in the party, and it's irresponsible. It's irresponsible to pour gasoline on these already very delicate tensions in the party. So we can help. It's not saying that every member has to campaign as a progressive in a traditional progressive way, but it's to say that we have assets to offer the party that the party has not yet, you know, fully leaned into or exploited. And I believe that we can take some of these seats. You know, I think Katie Porter is an amazing example. Michael Levin. There are swing seats. Every single swing seat member that co-sponsored Medicare for All won their re-election. And so the conversation's a little bit deeper than that, than just saying, you know, anything progressive is toxic and a losing message.
The conversation is much deeper than that. She talks about the irresponsibility of people saying certain things without the data to back it up, when we actually know from older data what the reality is. It is important. It's a shame that it is the young congresswoman that is the responsible party here, as she noted. From what we already know, we have Katie Porter in a swing district who supported Medicare for all, who didn't lose. Moreover, it is clear that when one asks the questions, are these the values you want, progressive values? The answer that they give is yes. So what is the problem with Congress people that lose? They're running so far away from being called a progressive that they forget to talk to their people, talk with their people, address their people, let their people know that they are where they are. They are there to provide the values they want. Instead of allowing the other side to tag them with the socialist mantra and not fight through that and say, I don't care what he wants to call me. This is what I want to do for you. If they would get on board, but you see, there's a very important thing. The party is still run by the good old boys, strategists and analysts that get $10,000, $15,000 for a contract when they're then asking all those people on the outside, oh, please go knock doors for us as a volunteer. They're still not investing in infrastructure, in new wave infrastructure. They should take a little page out of AOC's book on how she leverages social media, how she leverages much other structures than the old guard. And again, a lot of the people within the old guard, that's all they're doing. They're doing what they know. As she said, this is not 2005. This is 2020. 15 years ago. She has been able to use technology. She has been able to use other sources that does not look like the high price consultants that these people are currently using. So it is important. It is important that progressives not allow anyone, that we didn't get this state house, that we didn't enlarge Congress, be put on progressive. What this should be put on is people running away from leaning in. As she said in her discussion there, lean into progressives to make the party better. Lean in. Learn how these folks are very successful where they are, not because they're necessarily in progressive districts, as again Katie Porter shows, but because they show they have something to offer their constituents, because they are there to work for their constituents. The problem is the left rail and the right rail, they are so insular in attempting to protect the status quo that anything on that side, that progressive side, it's not that they fear it. One thinks they're demanded not to adapt them. Think about that. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.